Good, beautiful morning. It is Friday, March the 18th, 2022, and I have with me the energy of the goddess some people call Isis and the divine being called Ra, and they want to discuss the concept of the Great Reset as it truly applies to the transformational evolution of human collective unconsciousness. And we're going to get into that in a couple of minutes because it's really quite amazing when they talk to me about how long what we call the Egyptian society actually thrived for nearly 250,000 years. The actual society thrived for 250,000 years because the equality among the members of that society was very well established. There was no marginalization of people. There was no inappropriate distribution of wealth. Everyone was treated with the same level of respect and dignity, regardless of the conditions of their own individual consciousness. The challenge began to occur when human civilization then began to change emotionally. It is the emotional constitution of a civilization collectively that brings about a condition that is called a great reset. This condition is the response of environment and nature in relation to human collective unconsciousness. In the final days of what you call Egyptian society, of which you only see a very, very, very small piece, the way in which women began to be mistreated, the boundaries of equality began to get erased. There was processes of control and power that had not existed before. And as they evolved, so too did the change in our collective consciousness go through a similar change. What you see today as the imbalance between what you call those that have and those that have not, we would not say wealthy, we would say those that have and those that have not, comes about far faster and in a much shorter time frame than it did with our societies, where we were able to be the architects of an evolution of consciousness that allowed us to utilize energy in its electromagnetic spectrum in a way that you have not yet learned or understood, that you do not need the machinations that you have created. The industry that you've created is unnecessary if you understood the technologies that we utilize, technologies which empowered every member of the society to be equal in their ability to be a part of society, yet also able to reap the reward of their own creative efforts. The natural tendency was always to give. We never found ourselves needing to have more than we needed. It was something that just came as an evolution of our consciousness when we understood that we never had to do without. That also being said, we also lived in an environment that was very different than the one you experience on this planet today, where you have but one sun in the sky. We had two. It was very different. There was always an ability for anyone to eat, to stay comfortable. We did not have the great polarity that you see existent in the nature of the world around you. We did not have that great polarity. We had great harmony. It was not until what you would call the last ages of our society, where the imbalance between man and woman, those that were in leadership positions and those that were not, that gap began to grow people began to lose touch with one another, and the value systems that made our society thrive for as long as it did, as those value systems collapsed, so too did our society, to the extent and degree that you only have one more sun left in the sky above. That is the product of losing light that naturally occurs when your consciousness becomes dim from your disconnection from your awareness that everything is affected by you and you are affected by everything. It is a very precise and delicate balance that can be very difficult to achieve. We were not the first civilization that did this. There were others before ours. The way in which you understand and comprehend how time works, how you measure the discoveries of old civilizations that have come and gone as a result of the Great Reset, which is a change in the consciousness of the humans on this planet. If you understand this, then you'll understand that the so-called condition you see on the planet today of a reset is nothing close to what we're aware that is going to happen on this planet as a result of this imbalance that is growing quite exponentially. Every civilization throughout this planetary consciousness, as far as we have observed, has fallen for the exact same reasons, where inequality and selfishness become the dominant factors that dictate the interactions between different facets of society. That imbalance is countered by an actual change in the geophysical system in which you live. You cannot separate. And as we had the delightful experience of existing in a civilization that spanned far longer than what your society understands, we certainly understand what harmony is, what the great profound respect that must be cultivated, not only for yourself, but for all others. And we say this very specifically, for that is the responsibility of every member of the society we participated in. That every member willingly and joyfully took responsibility for their existence, for their expression, for their creativity, for their light, for their dark. Each member was very meticulous in terms of respect for the beautiful vehicle they were given, respect for the wonderful mind they have, respect for the creative capabilities that they had come here to actualize and develop, as you have done so also. Is that not true? That you all came here to exercise creativity in a free-flowing system of energy over which your actions, thoughts, cause effects that allow you to comprehend and understand the value of your expressions. The reset that is occurring for you right now will span some 22 years from this time approximately. During this 22 years time, you have the opportunity to begin a process of dignified correction in how you operate individually and how you operate collectively as a result of that. It requires the utmost responsibility and respect for the way in which matter, time, space, and interrelating with one another requires a deep understanding of this. But we were very, very conscious up until the last 6,000 years of our civilization, where it began to decay, where imbalance took place, where the environment responded. You must understand, as we did, that we did not live in a random experience of this world. There is nothing random in your world that you are experiencing. These are all effects of mind, consciousness, interacting with matter. And you can do this, and you are doing this, except many of you are unaware. You believe that the environment is solely responsible for the conditions of your experience of life, but it is the other way around. Your consciousness is that which is responsible for the conditions of the world that you see and experience around you. Can you not tell by the destructiveness that you have seen in your civilizations for the last 2,000 years that these behaviors cause your environment to respond, that war, control, and power are not random fabrications. They are manifestations of what we would call an ignorance of understanding the relationship you have with all other things, people, spaces, places, and times. So few of you remember that relationship, that every thought, every word, every gesture is a manifestation and a movement of energy deliberately into the creative process of manifestation. During these next 22 years, you can begin to formulate a healthy and necessary equality, but it must be one that is mutually agreed to by all members. When you understand that the other is not responsible for your creative expression, that you are, then you do not make labels such as rich or poor necessary. You understand that the conception of responsibility or irresponsibility is the defining consideration in your creative expression. Are you being responsible in your creative expression? Are you being all that you can be, your highest and your best? Do you honor the great temple in which you live? Do you? Do you honor the great temple in which you live? If you honor this great temple, the temple shall be clean and pure around you. The temple is yours to honor. And each of you was given a house to live in, and it's important to take care of that house. We built edifices to represent that there are certain things that can be built that can withstand conditions of time, space, and matter very differently. And now you find yourself looking and marveling at the past civilizations that we manifested through our collective consciousness. And yours is significantly different in terms of its length and duration. You have a very short-lived society because your moral consciousness is somewhat limited in its scope and its reach. But this is not a fault. This is simply an oversight that can be corrected as easily once awareness is established about what the correction is. But when we came to this one today, we simply wanted to express that there is a great reset that is happening, but it is not the one that your social and political systems are espousing. It is an actual reset in collective consciousness that is occurring whether you like it or not. It is better you become conscious and have a choice about the process that will unfold. But that reset can be one towards love or towards fear. Each one will produce its own experience of your existence in time and space. We simply came here to encourage you to consider what is your act of responsibility over your being in this condition of time, space, and matter. What is it that you need to be responsible for in this condition of time, space, and matter? to see each other in the light of your true nature, it is not, from our perspective, more favorable that your social system will survive the existing imbalances that you have between one group and another, one caste and another, which did not exist in our society. Each, what you call as divided social economic brackets of humanity, did not exist as an effect of ignorance. They existed as an effect of evolution. We understood that those that came into the world had very little and had to acquire and learn and cultivate their creative expression to have an experience of time, space, and matter that they recognized was pleasing. That your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions are very precise and specific in the way in which they are producing your experience of this world. And the structure of a society is naturally based on this. But when you are disconnected from the awareness of your responsibility over your creative expression, the imbalance begins. The moment you decide to defer your creative expression to someone or something else, then you will certainly find the same reset that we experienced many, many, many centuries ago in your time. But that you still have a limited period of time to correct this. You can assert control and power over one another through policies and procedures, but it does not restore the innate right of each individual to be responsible for their own thoughts, emotions, and actions. And those who do not understand the nature of their own thoughts, emotions, and actions are there to be shown and reminded of their own capabilities. But they still must assume the responsibility. Yes. Good morning, Con. Good morning. Yes. The challenge that so many of us are facing, yes, is that we do not fully take responsibility over our own experience of creation. Many of you are deferring yourselves to a place of being not much more than animals, seeking only to gather the experience of pleasure from your biological consciousness at the expense of your nobler nature, which is what you would call your divine self, your beautiful soul, that is a light that has an effect on your experience of time and space that is significantly different than what you understand. That light that you are, so many of you, when you came into your bodies, as did we, would look in the mirrors and see that there is a light in that mirror, that you can look in a mirror and see the light in you that is the life of the body that you exist in. There is time for correction. There is time for correction. The existing measures to seek to restore the general unity of consciousness on this planet, the current methods that you are about to employ will not work. This had been tried before. The mechanisms of education must match the quality of the consciousness that creates the system. And unfortunately, that is the case, that the quality of consciousness that has created your existing systems of learning are far inferior to what we had, far inferior to what we had. The freedom of the individual to articulate themselves creatively has been stifled, inhibited, put in a box, so to speak. that makes it very difficult for many of you to remember who you are, let alone express who you are. Yes. Sorry, somebody's just coming in the background here, and they're saying your society on the scale of the globe that it is very similar to how it was when we encompassed the globe as you now do. The difference is that you are very disconnected from the light. You are very diminished, and most of what you built will fall very quickly if this correction doesn't happen. There are many angels and guides, many beings from this planet that have evolved to different levels of existence, that are here now seeking to assist in rebalancing this, in this endeavor to prevent this reset. But understand that only to the degree and extent that you are willingly able to receive and utilize information and knowledge that allows you to creatively express in a more effective way, you will find yourself starting all over again. And this may not be a bad thing, but you have approximately 22 years to achieve this shift in consciousness. And there are many of you right now active in that process, and many more of you awakening in that process, which is why we are here. That you may consider concepts of love very differently than you currently do. The confusion of what love is and what love is needs to be resolved. What love is from your understanding is very different from what love is from our understanding. Love from our understanding is very simple, that you simply ennoble and honor your own creative evolution consciously. You honor your creative consciousness deliberately and intelligently. That is your one responsibility in this dimension, is to become responsible for your creative manifestations of thought, emotion in this world. The duration of your society has been very short. If you truly consider your global society as it exists today, it has been around for but a very short time. A very short time. And this is only because long duration consciousness requires a frequency called love. That vibrational frequency of love, held and maintained deliberately and intentionally, extends life well beyond what it organically does on its own. In other words, what your body can do of its own is very limited, but what your vibrational consciousness as an extension of love can extend life significantly, extend civilizations significantly. But that again is something that each of you must become responsible for. So this process of the Great Reset is occurring. And there are only two ways in which this reset can unfold, and that reset is towards love or towards fear. There is no middle ground in the creative process. There is no neutral state of creation unless you wish to be no more than the consciousness of a rock. And there are some rocks that have more consciousness than some of the humans that exist in very powerful positions on this planet today. But understand that it is in the hands of each and every one of you to become conscious and aware of your creative capabilities, to know that anything that you say, think, and do is a creative influence over your conditions of time and space. And we know you have many questions for us, and we will address some of them now. But please understand that this process of the Great Reset is one of a choice between your articulation of your higher spiritual nature or your lower biological consciousness, that survival impetus that you have built into that body that you must, as an awareness, learn to transcend consciously and deliberately, to not be subjective to it. And right now, there's a great number of you that are becoming subjective to your biological survival mechanisms and moving away from your creative mechanisms of your soul through utilization of imagination and other wonderful things. Good morning. Hi, Faradiba. Question from Faradiba. There was a time when I felt anger towards the ISIS, even though I had no obvious reason for this feeling. Could she please guide me to the meaning of the manifestations of this irrational feeling? Yeah, she's saying right now, she's laughing, she's saying, you have to understand, it is the denial of your own equality to me that frustrates you. Again, so many of you turn to us for information and guidance, and we delight in that. But when your request for information seeks to limit yourself, it makes it very difficult for us to respond, because we cannot respond to information that would not be beneficial to you. But your anger is not in relation to who I am. It is in relation to your own denial of your greatest asset of expression. Your greatest asset of expression, your soul's expression. Do not deny your higher nature and your noble expression. Do not deny this anymore. There will be no need for anger if you are not in denial of that which you are here to be and do fully. Wow, thank you. Question from Jennifer. What of those of us that have incarnated here that also participate in your era? The consciousness is already part of being. What then is the role of the human plane? You must understand, what you call the human plane is simply the biological medium that you are choosing to utilize in expressing your higher noble creative actions and thoughts to gain experience with your capacity as a deliberate and intentional organizer of conditions of your experience here. The body is simply the vehicle for gaining a valuable understanding, a conscious awareness of who and what you are as a creative consciousness that can function independent of time, space, and matter, but simultaneously work through it. For in your essence, you are not of this world, although you experience your creative influence upon this world through your experience of feedback from this world through your creations. But you are not simply that body. That is just one small mechanism through which you express. But it is for those of you that are here to learn, to remember that this temple is simply an exercise in developing your consciousness to remember and comprehend your own limitless capacity to create. A civilization such as ours that spanned nearly 250,000 of your standard years did not happen by chance. We manifested that deliberately, meticulously, mindfully, thought by thought, action by action. Every member of our society was conscious and aware until the final centuries. We were conscious and aware that our thoughts create, that our emotions effect change in conditions of matter. And many of you come back now to remember and apply that process, to remember what you already know in your heart, that you are here to manifest and alter and change your creative expression, and to see the effects of that creative expression in what you call this experience of time and space. To look out your windows and see the remarkable structures you've created, most of which will fall fairly quickly if the continued path you are on is maintained. You can see what you call the Great Pyramids are but a small sampling of our once astute civilization that existed. Yes, that what you know now today as these pyramids has been above and below the water many times, more times than you will understand or know, but there are some among you that have garnered that information that in fact the world does change in very profound ways when your collective consciousness changes. Well, thank you. Good morning. Justice for all. Can I ask Isis and Ra if the sun will emit a CMA that will wipe out the grid? They're saying if the proper manifestations of how it is you utilize and harness energy comes to fruition, then this is simply more energy that you can utilize. From the perspective of your existing technologies, it is not likely you could survive technologically the types of events that we had survived on multiple occasions. We had already developed the technology that allowed us to harness energy, much the same way as you can harness, your body can harness the energy of food. So too, your consciousness can learn to harness the energy of something like these higher frequency energies that are coming to you to assist you in your evolution on this planet. It's important you understand this, that you can develop technology that will utilize this energy, not simply be subjective to the effects. But again, you are in a place where you find so many of you believing that you are separate from the effects you are experiencing in this world. Many of you believe that what is happening in this world, you have absolutely no control over. And we have to say to each and every one of you is participating in this. Every one of you, that process of transformation, and that's all what you were asking about, that's all that is. It's a process of transformation that happens in response to the collective creative process of your consciousness here. There is not one effect in the experience of time and space that is not an effect that was caused by something else. You can harness this energy. Do not see it as a threat. But your science must catch up from a perspective of morality. And when we say a perspective of morality, we mean that your science must be astutely mindful of the higher expressions of itself in the process of enhancing and improving the quality of life for all on this planet and not for some selectively. And that process of selection, when done from the perspective of an individual, has its limits. When that perspective of collective consciousness is applied from a place of creative love, it's very different. But you will find yourselves in an interesting place very soon. Well, hi, Drusilla. Hi, Justice. Yes, there is. Question from Holly Gleason. Can you please elaborate on the concept of the conjunction of the divine masculine and divine feminine as the fundamental essence of existence? Wow, that's an amazing question. There's this rush of love and joy towards you for this question, for to truly understand the nature of these opposite energies that utilize one another in their evolution of each other as a united whole is very important. The what you would call the masculine energy or principle of consciousness is that which you are as awareness. That which you are as awareness. And that all other things that you interact with as awareness are responding or feminine receptive systems. A simpler way to put that is the energy of your consciousness aware of certain things when it makes a choice or decision affects a change in energy, albeit subtle in the beginning. but as an idea is pursued with greater intensity and focus, it begins to induce the feminine energy into precise manifestations. You see that very clearly in your society globally today, that the more dominant creative thought forms that you see, that which are based in control and power, separation, organize the feminine principle of energy to display the existing social structures you see that do not work, the conditions that you see in your politics, the conditions that you see are in your health systems, the conditions that you see are in your monetary systems. These are the expressions from the feminine energy that are an effect of the causative energy of the male creating principle, which is what you are. You are a male creating principle, all of you, and the energy of time, space, and matter that you utilize is all feminine. And you can organize and reorchestrate. Your ideas are incubated in consciousness and manufactured in time and space as what you see creatively around you. Wow. Thank you. Let's see here. Great questions and comments, everybody. I wish I had time to read them all. Yes. Yes, I understand that. They're saying that they have said what they needed to say. A question from Danielle. Did I have a lifetime in Egypt? Wow. They're just saying, thank you for that question. They're saying to me that almost 70% of the people that are on Earth right now had a lifetime. What about the other 30%? Yes, they want to finish that. 70% of the people that you have on your planet today did exist in our civilization. Many came back with the intention of restoring love to the collective once again. It is possible for the second sun to re-illuminate itself. It is possible, but that requires the illumination of an aspect of consciousness that has been sorely negated and subjugated over many, many centuries. The what you call the female consciousness, what you call woman on this world, there was a time where the two of you, male and female, worked in great harmony together, where there was no division other than the need to produce. You functioned creatively as equals. When that balance was broken, our civilization began to decay. For you must understand the relationship that you individually bear as a conscious entity working with a feminine field, so too that relationship exists between yourselves as physical beings, that some of you are male and some of you are female, to remind yourselves of each other's capabilities, that there is a process of creation that's universal to all of you. But yes, what are these other 30%? The other 30% that you're experiencing, some of these are new. A very small fraction of you are what you call new souls. But there are also many others from other, what you call star systems and planets from this physical dimension that are here to assist when you're ready to receive that assistance. You must be, many of you will ask for what you wish, but when you receive it, will deny it. You say you want assistance, but when it comes along and says, oh, we say to you, do not do this, or do this. And you say, oh, I do not want to do that, or I do not want to do that. And you become resistant to the very thing you ask. And we've seen this happen with you socially and politically. You ask for guidance, and the guidance comes to your door, honking their horns, and the guidance is there, but you choose to ignore it. And so you formulate beliefs and ideas without the guidance that you've requested. And you simply make more of a mess than you had before. Wow. Okay. Thank you, Luz. We'll get to that in just a moment. Thank you so much. Yes. Thank you for that super chat, Luna. Yes. He's saying, I'm getting this image of, like, this is beautiful light coming in. There, to be by the waters. He says to sit by the waters where we sat before. Sit by the waters where we sat before. Be there, and I shall be there with you. As I am here now, but you shall feel my presence. The waters where you used to sit before. Wow. I don't know if you have access to that, Luna, but there's a place, and again, I'm seeing rocks, and I'm seeing, yeah, it's beautiful blue and white sand, but it's a place, he says, where you two sat before. To go there, be present, he's saying, be present with me there. Be present with me there. Something about a book being opened. He's telling me to tell you something about a book that has to be opened. I don't know what that means, but there's a book. But it's a book that has to be opened. And I don't know what that means or why he's saying that, but there's a book that has to be opened. Thank you. That's correct. Wow, guys. I think we've gone through everything today. Question from, yes, that was already answered. Drusilla's asking, are we not ascending now? They're laughing. They're saying, of course, many of you are ascending now consciously. But that process of ascension is to open your light to shine on this world, not simply to escape this world, but to bring your light to this world. And again, that is in a process of deliberation that must be conscious. You must be deliberate in your choice to articulate your highest light as the manifestation of your thoughts and actions. Your highest light. You are all at various levels of ascension, but overall, collectively, you are struggling significantly with that. Thank you. There we are. So I want to talk a bit about tomorrow's meditation. Tomorrow I have with me Jamal Ipsipiku, and he was around when Eden fell, and he explained to me the first time I saw him why Eden fell, and he's going to be leading a meditation tomorrow on healing the world. He's written it down here as healing your world, but it's healing the world, our world that we're in right now. So I hope you'll join me tomorrow at 10 a.m. for that meditation on healing your world with Jamal. Also, I want to remind everybody, on April the 2nd of this year, we have our Mediumship 102 Masterclass, and it's a course of instruction for learning to let go of your old past emotional baggage, to get the old self out of the way, to restore yourself to the divine being that you truly are. And in order to do that, you have to learn to let go of the old baggage, the old dense emotions that are stored not only in your body, but that are also harbored in your mind. Please understand that. Oh, thank you, Holly. I appreciate that. Please understand, most of the emotions and thoughts that you possess in your mind right now are not even yours. Most of the emotions and thoughts that you possess are not even yours. They were given to you by your environment. And in our 102 program, we will show you simple, easy processes where you can learn to let that stuff out of the body, let that stuff out of the mind, and begin to restore your divinity back to being in this world. Your soul guiding your mind, guiding your body, instead of your mind guiding your body, entrapping your soul. Right? Most people are trapped because their minds are so confused. Anyway, join us for our Mediumship 102 Masterclass. That begins April the 2nd. You go to my website, williammichaelforbes.com. The link is in on the YouTube channel, but it's also in the description box below any of my videos. sign up for that course. It starts April the 2nd. It's a 3-week course, and you'll get all the details at the website. I want to say thank you to everybody for showing up today, for taking your time, your patience out of your beautiful lives, and thank you for joining us today. I want to say thank you to Isis and Ra's presence in their message today. I want to say thank you to those two other beings, the brother. Thank you so much for coming through today. And I want to wish you all much love, much joy, and I will see you tomorrow during the meditation. Bye for now, everybody.